Hello, my name is Wakkary, and I'll be speaking on behalf of my co-authors, Doenja Oogjes and Armi Behzad. Now, our paper focuses on a rethinking or reconceptualizing of the concept of interactions. Interactions is central to our field of human-computer interactions. However, we feel that we need a more expansive way of understanding the relationships between humans and computer. So we prefer the term relations rather than interactions. This idea of rethinking interactions in HCI is not new. There have been critiques from feminist and techno-feminist perspectives, and new challenges have emerged when thinking about critical race theory in the Anthropocene. Now, our approach is design research, so we're not philosophers. So in addition to researching through designing things, we've developed particular methods to guide our research, namely material speculation and co-speculation that we use in this study. A key feature in the study is what we call polylogues. So these are conversations that emerged from 2 years of discussing these ideas with philosophers who lived with our counterfactual artifact, a tilting bowl. We analyzed the various polylogues that emerged from the study and derived 3 themes that we believe are helpful in refining and exploring this concept of new relations in relation to HCI. These include non-anthropocentric care, non-presumptive knowing, and ideologized relations. So material speculation is the situating of counterfactual artifacts in an everyday setting. And by doing this, this creates a site for critical inquiry. Now, the counterfactual artifact in this study is a tilting bowl. Now, the bowl tilts periodically and infrequently at random intervals. The other method we use in this study is what we call co-speculation. So co-speculation is the recruiting of participants with particular backgrounds who can actively and knowingly speculate with us on our research questions. So at the very outset of the study, we share our goals and we share our research questions with our co-speculators. Particular co-speculations is that the insights and speculations emerge not only from the expertise of our co-speculators, but from their lived experiences of the counterfactual artifacts. So we ask them during the course of the study to live with the things we make. In addition to co-speculation, we use the notion of polylogues. Now, polylogues in its practical sense, as described by the linguist Catherine Carabret-Aracioni, really describes any multi-participant conversation. However, we also draw on its use by Julia Kristeva, a feminist semioticist philosopher, who saw in polylogues a way to describe the intertextual, dialogic, and polyphonic nature of the subject. And so we want these qualities in our own polylogues, this notion of the intertextuality, the translations and retranslations, not only between us and our co-speculators, but also how we translate and speak on behalf of the tilting bowl. Now, SIGCHI's polylogue focused on ideas of existential care and non-anthropomorphic care, and not knowing and absurdity. Beck's polylogue discussed ideas of utilitarianism and technological ideologies, and non-human companionship. Rob discussed presence, ideas of presence and autonomy. So of the themes that we analyzed, I have time to discuss and give a brief overview of one, and that's non-anthropocentric care. So this idea began with discussions with SIGCHI, and she gave us a paper by Harry Frankfurt on care, in which there were multiple dimensions of care, and the most important one was existential care that can be described as what to care about. And for SIGCHI, this meant what kind of relationship she wanted with the bowl, or how to make that relationship with the bowl. Now, key features of existential care is that it doesn't require reciprocity. So SIGCHI did not feel she needed to have resonance with the tilting bowl. In this way, existential care is performative. What is important is not the thing that you care for, but the act of caring for something. Now, from ideas of existential care, we developed notions of non-anthropocentric care, which we felt that empathy was not at the center of. So non-anthropocentric care can be said to be not empathic, and it is not knowing. So this was the idea that you didn't need to know the thing you cared for. In fact, even not knowing it was a form of care. So Sissy, in our main discussion, could articulate in depth and in multidimensional ways the degrees to which she cared for the tilting ball. But she also pointed out the obvious, that it's impossible to put herself in the shoes of a non-human entity. So empathy was not at the center of her caring for the tilting ball. And Beck described the tilting ball as a companion in many ways. But she was clear to make the distinctions between the companionship she felt with the tilting ball and that which she felt with her cat Gertrude, stating again the obvious, that the tilting ball does not feel pain or pleasure. When it came to not knowing, Rob, for example, could pose a question like, knowing he could not answer it, can a plant choose to end its life or grow in a less habitable patch of dirt? But this not knowing, or this limit of the subject, did not limit the degree to which or the type of care he would have for a plant. And the same was true of the tilting ball. Sissy saw in this not knowing of the thing that she cared for, she translated that into listening or not being presumptive. So for example, she wouldn't put stuff in a bowl simply because it was a bowl. Or she would quite literally listen to the bowl, as you heard probably in the previous video, that it makes quite a sound when it tilts. So she would move it around her apartment as types of sonic experiments. Now to conclude, this paper is an exploration of reconceptualizing and rethinking the notion of interactions and human-computer interactions as a matter of relations in an expansive and multiplicitous way. Also, we engage this inquiry in a polylogic and lived-with fashion, and we described a non-empathic, not knowing form of care of things that we labeled as non-anthropocentric care. So we look forward to your questions. I really appreciate you listening. Thank you.